All right, hello again, Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College. For the class yesterday, which was Thursday, the 26th of February, for the 152-153 Mobile Web Development iOS class, we only had about, out of the 9 people in the class, I think there were 4 there, something like that. And we had some problems, or I should say I had some problems. So what I'm going to do is attempt to redo this entire calculator and look at my instructions here and make sure that they're correct. And then we're going to do this again as a class on Monday for the first hour, and then we'll add some code for the second hour. So I'm going to start up Xcode, hopefully. I'm going to do a file. Create new Xcode project. Single view application. Click next. We're going to call this just what it is, calculator. Give that a capital C. Calculator. It'll be Swift and it'll be for iPhone. We're not using core data. Next. I'm going to save this right to the desktop, which is where I think it is right now. Yes, it is. And create. Now let's keep all the default settings here for portrait, landscape left, landscape right, etc. That's all fine. Okay? And let's go right to the main storyboard, right from the get-go. So here's our storyboard. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the background color of the storyboard a different color. All right? It's white by default. And I'm just going to change it, and I'll make it like a, I don't know what this is, like a turquoise, something like that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the object library, and I'm going to type in label. I'm going to find a label, and I'm going to stick it way up here in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to butt it up so it is basically right where it, is right against the yellow lines there. All right? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it all the way over to the right, the same kind of way. Then I'm going to take it and make it probably about 2 or 3, maybe even 3 times wider than it was. Okay? And I'm going to change the alignment on it to right. I'm going to change the font size on it. Let's make it about 50. All right, and instead of label, I want that to say 0. All right, so that's where we're going to hold our answer when we get done. All right, next I'm going to change the background color of this, and I have to actually drag to do that. There's background, and I'll make it, like kind of a light gray. All right, that looks fine. And after we get done with that, I'm going to change the color of the font, which right now is the default black, but I'll make it white. All right, so hopefully everybody's cool with what I've done so far. We started up a new project. We made it a single view app, called it Calculator, chose Swift for our language, of course, an iPhone for our type, and no core data, saved it to the desktop, kept all the default portrait, landscape left, and landscape right settings. Open up the main storyboard, change the background color of the main story or of the storyboard to turquoise, stretch the label across the right-hand corner and use the blue lines as guides, made the label about 2 or 3, maybe even 3 times wider than it had been. Okay? All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to pin this, so to speak, so that when we run it, it's going to take up the entire area. And if you say, I don't understand what you're saying, you will in just a second. Hopefully. So I'm going to come over here to the end, and I'm going to Control drag from here over to the corner. And I'm going to choose leading space to container margin. All right. Then I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. Again, control drag up. And I'm going to choose top space to layout margin. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to again control drag over one more time and choose trailing space to container margin. All right. So we've got all that stuff done. So we went, we created a label, we stretched it from the upper left to the upper right hand corner using our dotted blue lines as guides. We made the label about twice as wide as it currently was, maybe even 3 times. We control drag to the left, chose the top entry, control drag to the right, chose the top entry, and control drag to the top and chose the top entry. All right, we changed the background color of the label to gray. We changed the font color to white. We changed the font size to 50 and the justification to white, and we made the color white. Now, I'm not sure with that color. I want to look at that once and make sure it says that it's white. I want to make sure it's a white. All right. That's a little brighter. I like the way that looks better. I think that'll come up and look a little bit nicer when we get all done. All right. So with what I've got that we're going to go through, there are 13 steps. We've gone through the first 6. I want to make sure I take this nice and slow, so if we have any problems, hopefully we can get those rectified quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is a file, and I'm going to save. And what I want to do is I want to run this. Right now it's not showing me any kind of auto layout issues here. So my hope is when we run this, that whether it's in portrait mode or landscape mode, the label is going to take up, other than the little bit that we've got for the margins there, it's going to take up basically our entire area. So good start always when the build succeeds. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a bunch of buttons. Okay? And we'll do that, but we'll do it in just a couple minutes. Now, sometimes when I first start this thing up, I lose the connection. Not sure if I have or not. Nothing's happening, and it's taking longer than it normally takes. So I am going to stop my simulator, and then I'm going to run it again. All right, unable to run app in simulator. Yeah, well, it would be if I closed it. So let's try it again. And again, hopefully this is going to come up, and what we'll see now is our label up on top, and of course this is going to end up being turquoise, and our label should be up here, and it should be flush right with a 0 right there. All right, I like it. Let's try a hardware rotate left. All right, same kind of thing. All right, and right now it looks like it's flush up against the top, but I actually think that'll be all right when we get going. So I'm going to send it back again. In fact, I'm just going to quit the simulator right here. That's fine. All right, so everything's cool. All right, so the next thing I want to do then is I want to go and create a button. And what I'm going to do here, just so you know, is I'm going to end up having 4 buttons across, all right, and there'll be 5 rows of buttons. Okay? So we'll see as far as how much room I have, etc. But I've got a grand plan, so to speak, of what I want to do with these. So there's a button. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put that button and butt it up, no pun intended, real close to the other one. All right? And I think I can go over, let's see, where would that be? To the size inspector here. And I believe, now I could be wrong, but I think I can change that right here. And I can make the button, let's say 85 by 85. All right, you can see how the size has changed. In fact, I might even be able to go a little more than that. So I'm going to try it 90 by 90. So 90 by 90. Okay? So, all right. So again, hopefully it's 90 by 90. I want to butt this up so it's real close, and it's the same kind of thing where I've got the same margin and stuff here. Then what I'm going to do is, for right now at least, I'm going to come up and I'm going to click on that button. Try to click on the. Remember, if you have a hard time clicking on the button, go over and bring up your document outline and click on it right there. All right, that's one way you can always grab it. So I'm going to come in here, and now I'm going to go to my attributes inspector, which is the fourth one over. I'm going to change the font, which right now is set for 15. I'm going to change it to about 40. And I'm not worried that the word button is too big because I'm not going to put that there anyway. All right, so I've got 40 in there. All right, I'm going to change the text color. I'm just going to make it black. Okay, and instead of having it say button, which is, right now it's kind of silly for a title, I'm going to have that, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to stick a number up there. I'm going to put a 7 in there. All right, so that's going to be my 7. So now I want to go across, and I want 4 buttons across and then 5 buttons down. So I want 5 rows, 4 buttons each. And when I put these in, I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to do the best that I can to try to. I'm going to do the best I can to try to keep these kind of in line with one another. If you don't know what I mean, if you watch, hopefully you'll understand. So I'm going to again click on this and do my option drag, which of course is going to make a copy. And notice I'm keeping it real close and I'm lining everything up. All right, so I now have 2 of them. I'm going to control drag on that one, or try to. Or option drag, I should say, onto that one. Same kind of thing. Give it a little bit of space there. Okay, there's 3. And one more time, I'm going to option drag. Give it a little space. Okay, there's my 4 rows of buttons. I'm not worried that I've got a gap here. We'll fix that in a little bit. All right, but now I want to highlight all of these. And again, I'm going to option, and I'm going to drag down. So now I've got my 2nd row of buttons. Oops, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Okay. Try it again. I know there's better ways than the way I'm doing it right here, but the way I'm doing it, I've done it like this before, and it's worked. So, option drag it down. All right, that looks good. Then I'm going to option drag down again. All right, I'm going to option drag down again. And I'm going to option drag down one last time. All right, and again, let's talk about a few things here. Well, first I'm going to have to change these. Okay, I want this, for example, that's the only one I want to have stay at 7. And this one, I'm going to change it from 7 to 8. This one is going to change from 7 to 9. This will be 4. This will be 5. This will be 6. You can kind of see, hopefully at least, where I'm going here. All right, so I've got my 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I want my 1, 2, 3 here. All right, I actually don't want anything in here where I've got the 7. And I'm just using that, so I'm going to have a blank placeholder right there, and that's okay. This will be a 0. All right, so right now I'm getting there. Now what I want to put up here, okay, is, so right now everything that you see here and here, that's all done. So I just got to fix this stuff here. All right, So the first thing I'm going to put up here is, this is what I'm going to end up putting in here, is going to be a left pointing arrow, because what this is going to do is this is going to be kind of like my backspace. So if I've got 123 in here and I click it, it'll remove the last character that was put in, so it'll be a 12. Then if I click it again, there'll be a 1, and if I click it again, there'll be just 0 in there. All right? But I could sit there, and the first time I did this, I put it in like this. I put in minus minus with a less than sign. All right, I'm sorry. Say that again. Less than sign with a minus minus. And that looks kind of bad, for lack of better words. So I'm going to go over here to Edit and down to Special Characters. Okay, Edit Special Characters. And you can see what I have here. All right, so there's arrows, and if I start dragging down here, eventually they turn to right arrows. And I could pick out the one that I want. I kind of like that chunky one that's there, so what I'm going to do is double click on this and then double click on this, and there it is. All right, so I've now got that in there. Let's put a few more things in, because what we're going to have here is the word letter CE for clear everything. That's going to be a C for clear. We can fix that later. Here we're going to make plus minus, so if we want a plus sign or a minus sign. So I'm going to go over to mathematical symbols over here, and there's a plus minus. I like that one. So I'm going to double click here and then double click on that. So I've now got that in. All right. And let's put in our mathematical symbols down here also. All right. So click over here. The order in which you do these is kind of a personal thing. So I'll tell you what, I'll just do it in this order. This will be plus. I'm going to choose the plus sign there. This will be minus. And I'm going to choose the first minus because it's a little bigger. This will be multiply. I'm just going to use the X. Oops. And this will be divide. And I'm going to use the actual divide symbol. All right, so we're almost done here. All right, a couple more things that we have to do. This is going to be square root right here. All right, and I'm not sure where square root is, so I can come up here and search. So I'm going to type in square root, and you'll see there it is. Okay, so if I click right here, double click to highlight it, double click again, there's my square root. All right, so I can close this now. Again, that was under Edit, Special Characters, which is either at the bottom or right near the bottom. All right, so you can see this is coming together pretty nicely. All right, so what do I have left? Well, this right here, excuse me, should say CE for clear everything, clear all, whatever you want to say. And this is going to have just a C in it for clear. The difference between these two is if later I decide that I want to come in and add some stuff to this, maybe memory or something, clear everything will not only clear this, it'll clear memory. Clear will just clear this. Okay? All right. So, actually it seems like this would probably be a good time to save again. All right. So I've now come in and I have actually done the first 10 steps out of my 13. Okay? So I'm going to come in and next, I've relabeled the buttons, which was step 10. So I'm going to grab all of the buttons as a unit. So I'm going to highlight all of them at once. And you'll notice as I do that, I can move them around, and they're moving now as a unit. And I want to make sure that I have them up flush against the label using those blue things as the guidelines. All right? So with just the buttons, I don't want to choose the label, but with just the buttons highlighted, I want to click the pin setting that's down here. And I'm going to set a lot of constraints right now. All right? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to click the equal widths and equal heights buttons. And that will assure that if these have to be resized, they'll all be the same size. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second, I want to click in here. And notice that one says 8, and that's good. So I want that one to be taken. And I want an 8 there. And I want an, whoops, it didn't take. An 8, and 8, and an 8. And for some reason those aren't taking, but we'll see, make sure we get them all to take. All right, so I've got 8, 8888, 90 by 90 for my size. I'm not changing that. And equal width, equal height. All right? So this time I did it, I got 87 constraints. Depending on how closely you set this up, you might have a few more or a few less. It's not bad. All right. Now I'm going to click this Add 87 Constraints, and the machine is going to look really goofy in just a minute as far as my interface. All right. Now you see there's just junk all over the place. And what the system's trying to tell me is it's going to do the best that it can. The system is going to do the best that it can, all right, to try to set all this stuff up, but it may or may not be able to do so. The first thing I'm looking at here is, notice that if you look at the dotted red line, it looks like I've actually made these a little bit too big. So with all of them highlighted, I'm going to come back again to that inspector where I had that 90 by 90, and I'm going to change it to 88 by 88. And hopefully I didn't screw anything up doing that. All right, but hopefully I made them a little bit smaller. So, all right. So I'm going to click the document outline button. Actually, I don't have to, but I want you to see this thing that's up here. All right, it should be a little circle with yellow inside of it. All right, and if I click that, what it's going to do is it's going to tell me I've got a whole boatload of misplaced views. So the system is trying to tell me that there's some things here that seem wrong, and I'd like to fix them for you, but I'm not exactly sure how to fix them. All right. So it says you will notice that all of the misplaced views you currently have. Choose any of the views by clicking the triangle that's by it. And that triangle, come on, help me here, is any one of these. So I'll just click the first one. All right. I want to choose both the update frame, which is the one that's chosen, and apply to all views in the container. All right, and then click the Fix Misplacement button. Now that should fix everything for now. Again, it may look a little funky on here. Don't let that bother you. All right, there, it's looking better already. All right, so I'm going to save now. Again, I'm going to do a file save. All right, and with that saved, I'm going to run the program again to see if it's at least pretty much looking the way that I want it to look. All right. And if I get done, I'm going to stop right here because I'm ready to start adding some code, but I'd like this part, if it works okay, to be saved so everybody can see it and see what the interface is going to look like now. So again, right now, the program compiles. I've got my app compiling, but that said, it won't do anything. It won't do anything right now just because of the fact that none of the buttons have been programmed to do anything. So I'll come back and do that in just a bit. This is what we did in class on Thursday the 26th and had some problems doing it. So you can see there's the interface. It doesn't look bad at all. And if I go and rotate it, all right, still looks pretty good. Now that looks a little funky, and I'm not sure why, but I think it's because I've got that showing there. And I know there's a way that I can, I think that's in here. In fact, let's see. Let's stop the simulator. And let's go up here. There's some way here that I can turn off status bar style. Hide status bar. I think that's what I want to do. So I'm going to save again. It says I haven't changed anything. Okay, that's fine. I'll run it again. Recompile. And we'll see if that makes it a little nicer to look at. If it does, I'm done for right now. All right? I want to come back and I want to start adding my outlets and my actions to add the code in here to hopefully make it start working. Now, ideally, when we run this, that's the status bar. Oh, I thought that was going to remove it, but it doesn't look like it did. And that's still there. So we'll have to figure out how to fix that. All right? Like I said, I was sure that was a default status bar. Light, Hide status bar. I thought for sure that was it. And if you've never noticed, there's a boatload of stuff in here. If you notice here, if you've ever gone through this, there's all sorts of stuff. All right, I'm going to go back to info and see if there's anything that's there. Status bar is initially hidden. It says yes. There's another thing that I have to do to hide that status bar, and I'll have to figure out what that is, add that to my stuff here. So I'm going to do a file. Let's go back to my code, go back to the storyboard. It's actually, I think at least, of course I'm biased, but I think it's looking pretty good. All right. So I'm going to do a file save. And for right now at least, I'm going to stop taping. Okay, so this is the end of part 1 of our endeavor into the calculator.